You're live now?
Yes, we are live.
Very good. You're live now?
Yes, we are live.
Very good. The other one, I think you could mute. Okay. Good evening and welcome, my dear friends, viewers, and countrymen. This is Sirish. I am, I am from Hyderabad. I am a personal development coach and a life skills trainer. Welcome to my channel, Discover Yourself, Discover Life. Today, in a series of interviews which are going to be coming up on my show, first we have Miss Surabhi Pant Joshi, who is from New Delhi. A brief about Surabhi. Surabhi has 17 years experience in the education field. She herself is a trainer for teachers and she takes part in curriculum development, and she is also a content writer for textbooks along with other teachers. Welcome, Surabhi.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us today.
Thank you for having me over. It's a great privilege to be here and looking forward to the session.
Yeah, before we start off, we would what I told the viewers is just a little bit of who you are. I think that is only a tip of the iceberg. I would be happy if you can share a few things more about you, background, family.
Okay, all right. So, born and brought up in West Bengal. My parents are originally from Uttarakhand, what is called Uttarakhand now. I have been in the teaching profession for the last 17 years, have interacted with loads of children, parents, and I would say I've been privileged that during the course of my journey, I started as a teacher, class teacher for class 1, and I've taught all grades across 1 to 12. So I've grown with the children, handled children and issues of various age groups, various types, various backgrounds. I have a daughter who's 17 years old now. And as a parent, most of what I've learned has been a part of the learning journey. I've grown as a parent with my daughter. I like to write in my free time, um, dabble with poetry here and there at times. I am a trained NLP master coach and transactional analysis coach as well. And thank you, Chitra, for joining. So we have Chitra who has joined us on the Zoom session.
Welcome, Chitraji.
Thank you, Suresh ji. I may not be able to switch on my camera because मैं kitchen में हूँ and I don't want.
I know. I think that is one of the points we might be touching upon. Okay, as a parenting, as a parent, particularly mothers, have to do a lot of multitasking, like this Zoom call, Facebook Live, at the same time handling responsibility of kitchen. You can please keep your camera switched off. Never mind. Yeah. When
But
it's
it's
time for
good.
asking question, you
Yes.
can come. Good that you have joined.
Good to reconnect also, Chitra, after a long time.
Likewise, should be
Good.
likewise.
Sure. Thank you, Surabhi, for that brief introduction you have given. I am sure, viewers will definitely know this. You are a good poet, you are a good teacher, and obviously you are a wonderful parent of a girl child. And lots of pearls of wisdom we are expecting from you today. And it is very surprising when I have posted that I am going to take your interview about parenting. You'd be surprised there are a lot of people who actually sent me questions on WhatsApp, right? And one major question, one which is on my mind, I will start off with. I will take that privilege as being a host. I will take that privilege of asking that question first. A decade ago, 10 to 15, let's say 10 to 15 years ago, at least when I got married, when I had children, I never heard this word called parenting coach, or parenting tip. So, what do you think has changed in this world where now the current crop of parents are looking towards somebody who will help them with parenting tips and parenting coaching?
Right. So, not just parenting coaching, I think it's coaching itself, which has become quite popular these days because there is a gap and there's a need felt for some kind of a coaching. Why parenting coaching, if you ask? I would say you spoke of the time when we grew up, or if you take our parents' time. the family had a very strong influence on the growing child. It was a huge family, extended family. I remember my father, there were 9 brothers and sisters. And you
Wow.
multiply that into the number of children that his siblings had. Um, if I look at that generation, it was a huge extended family where my father was the youngest and he had some nephews and nieces who were older than him.
Same story here.
So
Same
yes,
story
same
here.
story, and I'm sure the same story would be in a lot of families of our age group. When
Yes.
it came down to my dad, we are 2 sisters, and if I look at his siblings, it's almost the same. And when we come down further to my generation, it's either 2 or just 1 child family. The extended family has become a 2 or a 3 or a 4 member family. Um, Again, if I go back to my times of growing up, holidays meant time with family. So though, as I said, I was born and brought up in Calcutta, every vacation we would travel from Calcutta to Nainital or Almora or Lucknow, where our relatives were, and spent time with them. That is how I know my cousins. Today, holidays are destinations, and we plan, okay, so summer break coming up, let's go to this part of the country, this part of the world, here we'll do this, we'll do that. Meeting up with the family is no longer a part of it, whether it is in my house or anyone's house. And the nuclear family also, in the nuclear family, I would say it is the friends who have replaced the members of the family, who have become closer to us than most of our relatives have been.
True.
So one reason is the breaking up of the family structure. Second, I would say times have changed. People have got busy with their lives. The world altogether has changed. Again, 9 brothers and sisters was a necessity at that time because medical facility was not there. All 9 would survive or not, that was not there. Family planning and things like that were unheard of. With the passage of time, with the development of science and technology and things like that, we have been able to I wouldn't say control, but we've been able to look at a different kind of a family structure today where the size is quite limited, which helps in controlling the population also. In a joint setup, the child's socio-economic needs were taken care of by everybody in the family. So raising of the child was not just the responsibility of the mother or the father. It was the responsibility of the Tauji, Taiji, Chacha, Chachi, Bada Bhaiya, Chota Bhaiya, everybody in the family. It was a small society in itself, which has broken down. That's one reason. Second, I could say busy parents. Earlier, not a lot of women were working. Today, we have both parents working. We have ambitious mothers. We have parents who come back home very late. And while, yes, we have a child at home or being taken care of by a nanny or in a crèche, by the time the parent comes home, the parent is physically tired. The
True.
interaction between the parent and the child is very limited. Early morning hours, everybody is rushing up. The parents have to report to office. The child has to be sent to school or put in a crèche. By the time they come home, it's 6, 7, 8. If the children are younger, they are tired by then. So too are the parents. So there is a gap which needs to be filled and which is leading to a lot of problems in the children as seen in schools. And looking at the children in schools also, you can make out how balanced a background is the child coming from. In spite of the busy schedule, are parents able to devote that much of time to the child or not? Is there harmony at home which is reflected in the child's behavior in the school or child's behavior in any kind of social interaction? Again, to fill this gap, you have a lot of parent coaches coming up who may not be, I don't claim myself to be a parenting expert, but I do say that I have had experiences at home and also have experienced challenges with children and the challenges that the parents face. And I feel that sharing these experiences would help bridge the gap somewhere. So I hope
I
that
think, yes,
suffices.
it was a fantastic note, Surabhi. We have started this session. When you are telling that example, I recall my own example. My father said there were 6, and my mother said there were 6. Okay. However, if I go and recall what my father used to share or mother used to share, there were certain financial struggles. Definitely there were certain financial struggles, but none of them have claimed to have gone without food for entire day or 2 days. That is number one point. Number two, the struggle seems to be physical, but the aspirational levels were so high. Though the family background was different, now both my mother, father, and their side, they have struggled. They have made a name and some finance for themselves. That brings to my point now. In current crowd, if you take the set of parents, because you have talked about a nuclear family, you have talked about now people talking about going to destinations. I remember holiday means going to grandparents' house. Holiday means going to Tauji house, Mamaji house. Grandparents' house was like a, every time we go there, it was like a mini Olympics.
Everybody coming
Seven to
together.
eight families coming together, again 7 into 2, 14, 15 people. Oh, it was like a marriage ceremony for entire 1 week or 10 days where we used to stay. That enjoyment was different. However, times have changed, as you rightly said, people's ambitions have changed. Both people have to earn income. But my point, which comes to you, is in current crop of parents, how do you measure the success of a parent? How do you measure the success? I will put it this way. Uh, will you say the parents are successful based on the quality of a child by which he is brought up? Or maybe you can say how much connection they have made with the child. Am I okay with that?
Yes, I think I get the idea.
Hmm? Or
I
maybe I can put it like this: is it about, instead of connect, I should say control? Are parents successful based on the control they have on the child or the quality they imbibe in the child? How would you put it?
all right.
And by the way, Surabhi, Vijay Lakshmi Natarajan has joined us from Bombay. She
Okay.
says hi. Thank you, Vijay Lakshmi. Welcome. Welcome to the show. And we already have 2 shares which have gone out. Thanks, whoever has shared that to others. Yeah, Surabhi, up to you.
Yes. Thank you for joining. And we are talking about how to measure the success of a parent, right? Whether we see the success of the child as a parent success, or the amount of control that the parent is able to exercise on the child as a sign of their success. I go by the understanding and the thought that our children are not our children. They are sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. While they come through us, from us, they do not belong to us. And they are separate individuals that we cannot control. So that negates your question of whether the success of a parent is dependent on how much he or she is able to control the child. Secondly, the success of the child. Parenting to me is not about the child. Parenting to me is about the parent.
Wonderful.
How, as a parent, am I able to control myself and not the child? There is a lot of talk about individuality these days: self love, self esteem, self appreciation, self discovery. You are a discovery coach yourself. It's all focusing on self. And when we are talking of self, why can we not let the child explore his own self? Why do I, as a parent, have to tell the child all the time that this is what you have to do, this is right, and this is wrong? Why can we not treat children as separate individuals with a mind of their own? We are not living our lives, reliving our lives, if I could say, through the children. They have a life of their own. They are separate individuals. So neither controlling the child nor seeing my success in the success of the child. I would say success of parenting lies in how successful I have been in order to control myself as a parent while handling the child.
And brilliant. I think there's a brilliant explanation you have given to that point. See, you also made a passing comment. I am a discovery coach. When I do my personal development sessions, particularly right now, I am handling a group of teenagers. I am doing a session with them. During a part of the course, in the second step itself, I ask them a question. Okay, in two parts. One, what are the three things you like in yourself? Not outwardly, inwardly, which means, as an example for our viewers' purpose, I will explain it. Like, I don't like some curry. I don't like this food. That is all external. Within you, what are the three things you like? Within you, what are the three things you dislike? You will be surprised. They struggle to actually write at least three, right? Then my next step is I ask them, don't tell your parents what you have written. Go and ask your father and mother, what are the three things as a dad, as a mother you like in me? Then see how many of them are matching and all that. 80% of the teenagers came back to me and told me their father and mother either were not willing to reveal or telling something which is outward. So that brings to me this question of how do you make a strong connection with your child? Is there any ideal way of parenting that way? And before you answer, I think we have Funny Priya says hi. She's from Hyderabad. Funny Priya is saying hello and she likes the question and she's saying, thanks for the super answer, madam, I think, for the previous question. So, Surabhi, now this is about how do you make a strong connection and is there an ideal style of parenting to make that?
Okay, first I'll come to what you mentioned about the children struggling to write three
Yes.
things about themselves which they don't like.
Like
and don't like, right?
Don't like. At least
Okay.
three. We say at least three.
Which is not too big a number
Yes.
for anyone to be talking about themselves. Why they struggle? They struggle because we don't raise them to be thinking individuals. The question that you asked is an out of syllabus question for them. You ask them three reasons why it is raining, why it is sunny outside, what happens to water when it is boiled. They will give you the reasons. Because a lot of time is not spent in probing the child. What is there in the child's mind? That importance, I somehow feel, is often lacking. We are always in a telling mode, telling them, do this, do this, do this, not asking what is it that you want to do. Hence, the children find it difficult to express themselves. As far as how to build a communication channel, you asked?
Strong connection.
How to build a strong connection with the child for any relationship. And I don't see a relationship between a parent and a child any different from any other relationship, whether it is relationship between the spouses, whether it is relationship between siblings, whether it is relationship between friends. The strongest base of any relationship is communication. How do you make a connect with anyone? It is through your communication. And when I say communication, it is not just verbal communication, it is non-verbal communication as well. How are you communicating? Communication again is a two-way process. To build that connect, the channel between both the parent and the child has to be open. As I said earlier, most of the time we are in the telling mode. We tell the child, do this, get up, get ready, pack your bag, go to school, have your lunch, change your clothes, put your things back in the cupboard, study time. So we are always in the telling mode. Nobody likes to be told all the time. You don't like it, I don't like it. We want to be heard as well. So to build that connection with the child, you have to be there to hear the child. And when I say hear the child, I am also trying to say don't judge the child. Be open with your mind, be open with your ears, be open with your heart. I'll give you a very simple example. When children are young, say class 1, 2, 3, 4 tak bhi, they come to you and say this happened today, this happened today, this happened today. And you are a party to it. Acha, acha, acha. So you hear everything. When they go to middle school, there are a lot of changes that happen in the children. All the children of the same age group showing a lot of similar changes. And the child comes and says that, you know, my friend, such and such friend, he bunked the class today. And what is our reaction? Stay away from that friend. Did you complain to the teacher? You don't have to do things like that. Next time the child comes and says, you know, my friend, let's say he used a foul word today. Stay away from that
Stay
child.
away.
Don't do that. So we start passing judgments to the child. You don't have to do that. We start becoming preachy. We start saying things to them. We get into the telling mode and we tell them what not to do or what to do. So much so that the children, by then, they have a very strong sense of loyalty towards their peer group. So if you say anything which is against their peers, they will stop sharing things with you. And once they stop sharing those things with you, how else are you coming to know about what is going on in your child's life? Be open when you are communicating. Build the connect without judging the child, which does not mean that you don't have to teach him the right values or you don't have to show him where he is going wrong or where his friend is going on. The friend is not a concern of yours. Your concern is the child that belongs to you. That is your child. Don't check the child at that moment. Or even if you want to check the child, what you could do is put the child into a thinking mode. So did your friend do the right thing or not? Put probing questions to the child. Instead of telling the child, you'll get the answers from there and you will know what is the direction of the thought that your child is getting into. And that helps you to build a connect with the child.
I think that's superb. I think viewers who are listening to it, they would definitely agree with most of the points. I did one session with my friend Santosh Modi, same FB live session. It was about how to have an engaging conversation with your children. I think I touched upon the same topic at that time. If a child comes and says, today maths, some chapter was good, chemistry, some chapter I didn't like, the parents will say, okay, you liked it, no study. If you go and probe, instead of question, I mean the telling mode, what you are saying, instead of a telling mode, you should have a walkie-talkie mode. You stop, then only he can talk.
Yes.
Now you go and find out why he likes that math subject, or why he likes the math teacher, why he doesn't like the chemistry teacher. There might be some surprising answers you would know. So
and children always have surprising ways to surprise you, actually.
Yeah.
You will never realize the in-depth from their world, from the little experiences that they've had. They do look at things minutely, they do observe things minutely, and they know what they like and don't like. As I said, respect the individual, respect the child. The child knows what is right or not for him at that point in time. It may not be what you feel according to you, but then your child is a separate individual. The sooner you accept that, the easier it becomes to parent that child.
Truly said. That brings to me this pondering thought, because we started off with saying earlier there was no parenting tip and all those things, parenting coach. So my question would be, what would be the top reasons why parents need parenting tips or coaching? You're able to get my question, Surabhi?
Yes,
I will repeat that. What I am asking is, why do parents require parenting tips or parent coaching? What would be, at least give us top 3 reasons?
Why do they require
By the way, Sujaram has joined us live.
Thank you, Suja.
Welcome, Sujaram. Thank you very much. And there is also a question by Funny Priya. We will take it in the end, or maybe after another question of mine, we will take the question of Funny Priya. You, please, up to you. You answer.
Yes. You asked why parenting is...
What would be the top 3 reasons why a parenting tips or parenting coaching is required for parents?
Okay. I would put it this way. No one teaches us how to parent a child. Yet this is one of the strongest relationship where we put so much into. There is no school that will tell you how to parent a child. Different people, even for a parent to share that this is where I have failed as a parent and this is where I am struggling, this is where I have achieved my little success. For a parent, say a toddler parent whose child is a difficult eater, So feeding that child takes a long time. And one day the parent has done something where the child has finished the food in 15 minutes. That's a big success for that parent. We don't go around talking of these stories, sharing these stories. We are struggling in our own homes. Yeah, how do I manage? Why is my child like this? There are so many burning questions in our mind. This is one relationship which, especially Indian parents and Southeast Asian parents, too much goes into that parenting. We almost want to raise a perfect, I would say, replica of ourselves. Wherever we have gone wrong, we want to recreate a perfect version of ourselves without knowing how to do it. And from personal experience, again, I'm sharing, a lot of parents struggle, and they are at a loss of how to handle a child by the time they are teenagers. The foundation is laid on the day of the conception itself. We don't know how to handle the child once the child comes into the world. There are a lot of ways where we can take corrective measures and set the tone right in the beginning so that the struggle during the teens is minimized.
So
That is a
I
time when the parent says, "Bachcha sunta nahi hai."
correct. But here, I think we should also talk about something else, because the point you made is about teenager. But I am starting right from beginning as a child, as a toddler, as you have said, because the Mother Nature and National Geography, both of them show that if you have a child, it is your natural ability as a mother that you will be able to bring up. It's in mother's nature. The person who gave birth, they say, has that instinct to bring up a child with love and care. When we talk about that, when I keep that in mind, my question comes, at what age of the children should parents actually go for a parenting tips or coaching?
Again, as I said, right from the conception of the child. Because what you feed the mother,
Hope yours are listening right from the conception.
because I follow the transactional analysis theory, which says that there are 4 births of the child. So my parenting style is quite based on this theory. And according to these 4 births of the children, the first birth happens at the time of the cellular birth, which is the conception stage. The second birth is the physical birth of the child coming out into the world. The third is the psychological birth, which is immediately after the child comes out into the world and how the child is received by that world. And the fourth is the social birth of the child. The entire human journey, the foundation of the entire human journey is laid in the first 5 to 6 years of the child. So if you want to do the right parenting, either consulting a coach or going through and reading things yourself, it is the first 6 years of the child that you need to focus on. If you have spent quality time there, I think you've taken care of the years to come. So if you go back to Mahabharata, a lot of mythology, people believe, people do not believe, about Subhadra knowing a lot of warfare, about Subhadra being narrated stories and strategies about warfare, and Abhimanyu knowing that once he was out. We dismiss that as mythology, but that is a fact. That is a truth. What the mother is thinking, what the mother is reading, what the mother is feeling while she is still carrying the baby has a huge, huge impact on the child. I will give personal example here. When I was carrying my daughter, my husband had moved to Australia for a project, and I had moved to my in-laws' house, which is in a very small town. I don't have a lot of company there as such, or I can say that company with my frequency matching. I did not have much to do. My mother-in-law would take care of everything, make sure that I was comfortable. But I was not very. I would say I did not enjoy my pregnancy a lot. And every day I would say that ये जल्दी पैदा हो, मैं जल्दी घर जाऊं. So much so that I had an early baby. So she was born in the 8th month. Because I kept on feeding that to myself, I kept on thinking that, and as we all say, you start doing what you're thinking. What you think, you attract those things towards yourself. So it is very important what the mother is feeding to her mind when she is carrying the child. Second, when I spoke of, was the physical birth. Now, when the child comes out of the womb, which is a secure, safe environment, the child is brought into, there is an entire change in, you could say, the lighting. It's supposed to be dark inside, it suddenly becomes bright, especially operation theater, it's all bright light. There is a change in temperature. It's almost a traumatic experience, not just for the mother. For the mother, it's a physical experience. For the child, the physical experience is totally different. And when he comes out into the world, what is it that we do to check whether the child is crying, whether the child is, or whether everything is okay with the child or not? आपको पता है, Sirish ji, what is it that we do? What do the doctors do to check if the child has not cried on coming out? What is it that the doctors do?
उल्टा लटका के मारते हैं।
उल्टा लटका के
वो
मारते हैं।
वो 3 इडियट्स में देखा था मैं।
Yes. Now, जब हम उस बच्चे को मार रहे हैं, what are we telling the world? What are we telling the child? This is his first experience, first contact with the world, where the child is being hit. And the message goes to the child that I have come into a world where I could be abused, where I could be hit, and it is okay. There are various theories for this, but this is one message that goes to the child, and it is very important how this stroking is immediately replaced by a positive stroking, by a warm hug to the child. So that is the physical birth and the psychological birth of the child. So physical is his coming out and his breathing on his own, and the psychological birth is how that child is received, is held. Now, if the child, when the child is born and the child is held and the child hears soothing words, it will have a positive effect on his mind, and he will think that the world is a nice place to be in. If that child on coming out hears tones like फिर से लड़की हो गई, the child may not understand what is being said. The tone is not a soothing tone.
Negative vibes, you say?
Yes,
Negative vibes.
Yes, it starts right from there. How the child, if there is a friction between the parents, the kind of tone that is being used, this child is still figuring out his or her place in the world, is still new to the world, is forming certain kind of opinion and understanding about this world, and herein lies the psychological birth of the child. And the fourth is the social birth of the child, where the child starts moving out of the comfort of the house and comes into a social setup, the time when he starts his schooling. How he's received there, how the first day and the first few days of the child goes in the school sets a tone. The kind of environment that we give to the children in the first 6 years sets the tone for their entire life. So parent coaching tips, you were saying, when should parent coaching start? The parent should start working on himself or herself, not the child, on himself or herself right from the day of conception. Read good things, have good thoughts. That is why there are so many suggestions given to young mothers when they are carrying. Listen to this, listen to that, do this, don't do that. So it should start right from there. You can read, you can talk, you can share positive things, talk to people from whom you draw positivity. And if there is a lot of negativity around, it is somewhere going to affect the child.
Wonderful. 20 years, I mean, reading some books about parents or how to raise your child, 14 steps, some say 7 steps, some say 18 steps, whatever number steps. I think within the first 20 minutes of our conversation, I think these are the 4 things I have heard for the first time in that order: umbilical, physical, psychological, and social. I mean, I think this will add extreme value. In fact, I am looking at the screen now. Sujaram is saying, wow, never thought about it this way. Well explained, physical and psychological. Thank you, Sujaram, for the compliments. And we go back to the story of Arjun, Abhimanyu, Subhadra listening to this. Okay. When my wife was pregnant for the first time, when we were having this discussion, she was telling my wife, you eat this, you take rest and all that. I was telling I am playing music also. Instead of to the ears, I am keeping it on the warm stomach and then a soothing veena, flute music. She, in fact, actually, she brushed her head. She said, stupid mythology. When we visited her for the next checkup, I think she took this and she was thinking about this. Next visit, she said, you are right. She actually said what you have repeated. The same story, then she said, yes, it happens like that only.
And did you continue playing it?
Yes.
Does your child have a musical sense?
Yeah, my elder one sings.
Yes. So what
And
you
see,
feed in,
the dots are getting connected. That is what I say, Surya. I am of a nature where I feel ki every person should keep learning every day because learning is a continuous basis.
true.
Today I learned something new from you. Similarly, now I connect those dots. Even before you ask the question, I could immediately make the connection because my elder child shows that interest in music.
And as a young mother, I did not know this. So as a young mother, I was cribbing and complaining कि जल्दी पैदा हो तो मैं जल्दी घर जाऊं. And when she was an early child, that is when I realized that what I've been feeding myself all this, I somehow blame myself for her early birth because that is what was the topmost thing in my mind.
Yeah, that is what
And that is the need for a parent coach where you talk about these experiences. Nobody had shared these experiences with me.
correct.
So I, like a young complaining mother, not happy with my life, not happy staying in the place that I was staying in, had I known that my thoughts are going to affect my child, I would have made an effort to think differently.
In fact, I think Sujaram absolutely connects with your statement. She is saying subconscious thoughts manifest.
Yes.
Exactly true. And we also have Pearl Behel who has joined and saying ki hi. Hello Pearl Behel ji, welcome
Thank
to
you,
our
Pearl,
session.
ma'am.
Yeah. So out of the four you explained, I want to concentrate on one, not umbilical, physical, psychological. I want to concentrate on the social one, right? And during current times, there are two kinds of social things I want to talk. One, rightly, child is going to the school. He has to make friends, he has to understand what is the social behavior and all that. But the digital era has given rise to a lot of challenges with the mobiles and other gadgets. Even I am seeing when the friends are sitting together, everybody is busy on their mobile. They are hardly having any conversation now. Because I am sitting in front of you like this, I am checking messages, I am texting you. You are right in front of me. And I am telling you, hey, dekho, mujhe ek acha video hai. The fun, the excitement of having some stupid conversation, let me put it that way, because we enjoyed it as teenagers. And this, I call it as a social dilemma for parents, particularly of teenagers. So Funny Priya's question, I am going to the Funny Priya's question, I am seeing it on the screen. Her question is, how do you make an excellent connection with a teenager? She's asking that. Because I think most parents who are parents of a teenager, either son or daughter, Funny Priya is saying teenager son, but definitely I resonate with her question. Most of the parents today who are having teenage sons or daughters are facing this dilemma and as a challenge. So this is one challenge.
Okay.
Throw some light on this.
Yeah,
Throw some light on this and any other two challenges which parents are facing.
Okay, I will do that. You don't make connection with the teenager. You make connection with the infant. And you let that connection grow. If you have been able to make that connection at the right time, that connection stays in spite of the fact that he has turned a teenager. We have somehow glorified the teenage as an age where I would say we call it the tumultuous teens. Teenagers say, अब तो हम teenager हो गए, हम आपको तंग करेंगे ही करेंगे. So we have we have started seeing teenage like that. We have started projecting teenage like the period where the child is going to trouble us and where we are going to get troubled, where we will not agree with what the child says and the child will not agree with what we are saying. Why can we not see it as an age where the child has a fair understanding of the world? Till the time he or she is small, the child depends on you to be clothed, to be bathed, to be carried, to be fed, to be changed, to be put to bed, to be woken up. As they grow 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years into the world and are becoming independent, they have got a certain understanding of the world that they are living in. Teenage is the time when they start exercising their understanding of the world to the world. Instead of seeing it as a time when you are going to be troubled and the child is going to be troubling you, why can we not celebrate it as the time when that creature is becoming independent and exercising his or her individuality? Why does it always have to be a struggle and a tussle? You spoke about the digital thing, right? I think this is a dilemma of every generation, and the divide between my generation and the correct generation is huge. I was 8 years old when the first television was brought into my home. Right? 1984, you had the Asian Games, and my dad brought the television at home.
Wow, lucky.
TV.
At least you are 8 years ahead of me.
Yes. So TV was there for 2 hours, I think. वो एक दूरदर्शन के सिंबल से टैना नैना some typical music से it would start, and 10 o'clock after the news it would shut.
Yes.
Even then, as a child, I remember my dad used to say, and my parents, both my mother and father, used to say, ज़्यादा टीवी देखेगी आँख खराब हो जाएगी. Because it was something new for them, for me, and we did not know how this technology is going to affect us. That 2 hour became 4 hours. Then you had the DD Metro starting. Again, ज़्यादा टीवी देखेगी तो आँख खराब हो जाएगी. That was something that they kept on saying. In spite of that, I kept on doing what I was doing, and I'm sure a lot of you did the same. Then you had 24/7 TV. Right? By then you had grown up. I had grown up by then. We could not see 24/7 because work had started, college had started, we had got busy with life and things like that. But even then, we did find time to watch. And there were days when we slept late also because we were watching some movie. I remember weekends, Saturdays, there used to be an English movie playing quite late in the night. And I used to watch it with my parents shouting somewhere in the background, "Itne der tak TV dekh rahi hai." I am that same parent today. While I had the first screen, life comes the full circle. Yes, yes. It is a problem of every generation. New technology coming up is a problem of every generation. The older one does not know how to handle it, and the technological development is rapid these days. Is rapid. While I had the first TV at an age of 8 for 2 hours, the toddler is born into everything right there on the screen. Smart homes, smart TVs, smart homes, smart gadgets, smartphone, everything is smart. And that little toddler is also very smart. On his own, he or she is able to reach a certain channel.
But can we say here, sorry for interruption. It just, as a flow, it came to my mind. Maybe it may sound wacky also. Smartphone, smart TV, smart this thing. But can we call smart parents? With due apologies to everyone who might take an offense to this, my apologies, there is no attention. But today children don't think of their parents as being smart, because the teenagers today think they are much smarter than their parents. So before you answer that, I would like to say Sudhakar GVN has joined us from Bengaluru. Welcome, Sudhakar. Thank you. He says, well said. He agrees with your point, what you said. And then Shefali Gupta ji has joined us. Thank you, Shefali Gupta ji. She says, so true. And how would you answer to my comment?
So, in spite of all the smart technology around, I would say you are a smart parent when you have accepted that technology is a part of your life, when you have accepted not just in words but in spirit, that this is a digital generation and we are technology migrants, they are technology natives. We say it, it is difficult for us to accept, right? When you say that children these days are always on the phone, you look at an adult gathering, you will see the same thing, right? In an
Correct,
adult
correct.
gathering also, it
Absolutely
is
correct.
adults who are down with the phone. When we cannot put our phones away, how do we expect the children to be doing that? Who is setting the example? You are
So
a smart
why can't you
parent.
look at, if I
No.
look at it this way,
Hmm.
as an adult at this age who saw this technology only 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when our children were born, who thought it is a right. We are born in a digital era. Maybe the adults today are getting hooked onto it because of fascination, but the children are thinking it is a necessity. It's a day-wise necessity. I think that is
Absolutely,
what is happening.
absolutely, absolutely. It is a day-wise necessity, and why children feel that our parents are not of our age or they don't understand is a lot of times when we have not updated ourselves. All parents are on Facebook, right or not? Where are the
Absolutely,
children?
absolutely correct.
Where are the children?
Obviously, after 18 years, Facebook. I don't know. I think there's a legal limitation. I'm not sure because
13, you can open your social account at 13, but they are not
I
on
definitely
Facebook.
hope I definitely hope my daughters are not seeing this because I told them 18 years is the legal age limit for joining Facebook.
Okay,
So I will delete these comments in our recording.
all right. So the children are not on Facebook, the children are on Instagram, the children are on Snapchat, the children are on plenty other sites that we don't even know about. How will we know what is happening in the child's life if we are, Facebook came, I became a part of Facebook in I don't remember, also 2006 7,
Wow, there also you
right?
beat me 6 years.
Okay.
Mine
So
is 2012.
somewhere at that time I opened my Insta account after my daughter opened hers. So it took me a while to catch up with her. By the time I opened Insta, I'm still trying to figure out how Insta works. She is on multiple accounts. Now to her, when I say कि ये Facebook का post like कर दे, she says who is on Facebook? And once when she pointed this out, I've been telling her wisdom curators, come to wisdom curators, do this, do that. She says, who is there on Facebook? Nobody of my generation is there on Facebook. And that is when I went to Facebook again to see how many of youngsters are there. There were very few. You can do this research yourself. So
No need to research. I have this example at my
yes,
home itself.
yes.
My elder one is on Instagram, not on Facebook, right? She often says, how many followers you have got on Instagram? I think she has X times of followers, yeah, for her account when compared to mine. So she tells me, ki, I need to spend some time here because there are followers who are waiting for my post. So how would I answer that as a father of a teenage kid?
So here
So
you
these
need to tell,
challenges are there.
yes, these challenges they are there. You need to tell the child, again, not tell the child, but you need to have a healthy discussion with the child about the real world and the virtual world. Also, how you can use the virtual world to your advantage, because virtual world is here to stay. You and I are working on a virtual world now. The entire schooling system has come onto the virtual world. The entire business system has shifted onto the virtual world, and we will never go back to what used to be a normal. It will be some kind of a hybrid version between the two. So even when you are on social media, when you're spending time on social media, what are you doing there on the social media? How much are you using it to your advantage? Or how much are you giving in and getting addicted to it is what you need to discuss with the children. And they'll give you their own reasons.
So true, so true.
If they are valid, they will give you their own reasons. Accept the valid reasons, because at times my own daughter leaves me speechless. I don't know what to answer. I come from a different school of thought, and she puts across questions to me कि अगर मैं बुक पढ़ रही होती तो आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती. Initially, the fight was that you're spending so much of time on social media. Why don't you do something else? Before that, it was the television. So she would say, अगर मैं टीवी देख रही होती तो आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं होती. Now I'm on social media, so you have a problem with that. While I would say social media is more interactive than a television, at least it's a two-way process, where you're putting a thought into the feed that you are feeding into your social account, where you are responding to people. And a lot of times you try to be smart when you're responding. So you're thinking, it is working on your cognitive thought process. Whereas if you were sitting in front of the TV, it was just a screen that you're watching with very little participation from your side. So that discourse with the teenagers especially is very important, that how you are using it, how much of your time is it eating up? Is it a valuable time that you're giving away? Again, we were talking about smart parents. It is very important that as parents, we set an example to the children ourselves. If we are watching late night movies, we cannot expect our children to sleep on time. If we are bringing the phone to the dining table, we cannot expect our children to keep their phone away. So it is very important that we set, and we firmly set, that kind of a time, that kind of a routine, that kind of a schedule where it is only family time. Phone is not a part of your family. It is only family time where you, the entire family, is sitting and just talking. It could be meal time. It could be early morning hours. It could be late night hours, whatever suits your family. It's okay to go to bed late in the night. Fine. Don't watch the screen. Have a chat. Catch up on how your day went and things like that. That is smart parenting. Sitting on a smart gadget all the time is not smart parenting.
Correct. However, I think there is a slight, I have a difference of opinion with what you said. Maybe we'll have an extensive discussion on this in another session. When you said at least children are thinking when they are responding to some post. For all those parents, for all those viewers who are, I think we are almost about 18 people, we are somewhere on the screen right now watching this. I have seen a movie called Social Dilemma, where they actually tell you how these platforms, what do you call them, either Snapchat, Instagram, and all that, how they actually control and coerce your behavior. So that is something I have a difference when you say at least they are thinking, because maybe they are thinking because they are made to think in that particular way because of the certain set of followers which they have got due to various reasons. But Surabhiji, we are talking of all this as a normal. One question comes to my mind is, what additional challenges do you think parents of a differently abled children have when compared with normal?
All right. I will answer that. Before that, I'll go back to the smart parenting thing again, and children spending time on digital space. While we have given them freedom of using that social platform, we need to tell them their responsibility also. And we need to talk about safety in those platforms as well. So a lot of AI is used into directing what we see, what is fed in, where we are diverted and things like that. At the same time, we need to talk to children about safety and the threat that this medium has on us, because technology, while it comes with its benefit, it comes with its challenges as well. Coming to your question about differently able, that's a very, very sensitive topic also. It is very difficult for a parent with a special child first to accept the fact. With acceptance
True.
comes peace. And the day you accept, I think there's a total turnaround on how you start behaving. A lot of times, see, I have seen special education children also in school where parents are still in denial. First, you need to accept that there is a challenge, that the child is special. You are blessed with a special child, and the day you accept it, you can start working on yourself, on how to be able to help the child. So with acceptance, as I said, comes peace. And then this is an area we see, if I look at my friend circle, I would not have a lot of friends who are differently abled. So my understanding of special people, special education, special needs is very limited. I would not have come across many people also So not just in my friend circle, but if I look at the outer circle also, there wouldn't be many falling into that. So my understanding of special education is very, very limited. So once I've accepted that I have a special child, I need to explore and become aware of the special need of the child and what I can do in my capacity to help the child face the challenges. I need to speak to other parents also, other parents with children of special ability, so that with shared experiences, I learn and I realize I'm not all alone. Because the entire process from knowing and accepting is a very emotional process for any parent to be going through.
Yeah, I think well said. That
You
is very
feel
truly
that,
said.
yes, you feel that I can't even imagine what a parent with a special child would feel, right?
Yes.
So I have a friend who has one, and she was visiting me some days ago. She, I would say that she's my best friend from the childhood, and when she was visiting, she was uncomfortable. She was uncomfortable कि कहीं ये कुछ ना ऐसा ना कर दे, वैसा ना कर दे, कुछ गलत ना हो जाए and things like that. Whereas I was perfectly okay with it. So that acceptance has to be there. Once that has happened, then there is a turnaround. Then you can do a lot of things to make life a little comfortable for that child. So acceptance, reading about it, talking to people with similar experiences, upskilling yourself in how to be handling the special need of the child. So that's a gap that has to be filled in.
Yeah, yeah.
And once
That's
awareness happens, the parent can go and help other parents also who are handling similar issues.
yeah. Use three words you use. I will just put it in a nutshell for viewers who are actually watching us: acceptance, awareness, and a shared experience. If parents of specially able children are able to do this, I think they will be overcoming those challenges to their best levels. Good, Surabhiji. I think we are up with the time. Actually, Sirisha Kasarla, she has joined us from Boston, USA.
And I would also add here, I can, if I special needs child, the parent needs to work on himself also, so that that confidence in the parent also builds up, because that is very important.
Yes, yes.
So even if I have a special child, that's a different individual. I need to work on my own individuality. I need to pursue my hobbies. I need to continue with certain sets of achievements which boosts my confidence to be able to handle the child.
Yeah, it's, I think, time for questions. We will take Sirisha says. Sirisha, as I said, she is from Boston, USA. She is saying very engaging discussion. Thank you, Sirisha, for joining us. I think it must be very early morning for you right now. I think it must be around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to them in Boston. Thank you very much, Sirisha, joining us. And Sujaram says, well summarized: acceptance, awareness, and shared experiences. Uh, Folks, we are ready to take some questions. I think we are almost up with the time. I think time has flown without even knowing it is almost 1 hour, Surabhiji. I mean, kudos the way you have put me engaged, get me engaged, and the conversation was really, really thoughtful, good, insightful. I think some questions will come from people we need to see. We'll give them 1 minute. Otherwise, we'll wind up. Chitraji was saying she has some question. We will see. Duvala Sunil has joined us. Good discussion. He is saying Sahiba Thakkar. Thank you, Sahiba ji. She says great as always. Okay. Now Sirisha has responded to our statements. Rabi ji, she says 8:30 a.m. here in Boston. My weekend got off to a great start. She says thank you. Thank you, Sirisha. We should thank you for joining us. We will see any other questions are coming. Otherwise, we will see. Shall we wind up? I think questions are not coming. Friends, if anybody has any further questions, you please reach out to Surabhi ji. You can personally message her. Okay. at least she might take some time to respond in the morning hours because she will be in the school. But if it is after 6:30 or 7, you can be damn sure that you will get response within 5 minutes. Anybody wants further inputs about parenting tips and other things. And thank you everyone for joining. Funny Priya says it was really valuable discussion. Thank you, Funny Priya, for joining us. Thank you very much. We'll wind up over here. I'm going to stop the FB live. Thank you guys very much. One thing, stay tuned to my page, Discover Yourself, Discover Life. I am going to get you lot of sessions with lot of other people, lot of other topics, which will help you in every aspect of your life. Either your personal development, most of the points Surabhi said today is about your personal development as a parent, because you need to nurture and make somebody good, because tomorrow they are going to be parents. So this experience will pass on. Thank you very much for joining. Stay tuned for constant updates on my page. Thank you very much and good night. And Vijay Lakshmi, thank you for joining us.